My name is Evan, and up until a few days ago, I believed I had a stable, happy marriage. I wasn't foolish enough to think we were perfect, no marriage is, but I believed we were solid, strong, and built on trust. I had no idea how wrong I was. It began on an ordinary evening. Nothing felt off, no warning signs, no gut instinct urging me to be cautious. My wife, Claire, had been acting a little distant lately, but I chalked it up to stress. Work had been overwhelming for both of us, and I figured we just needed some quality time together. In fact, I had even made plans for a weekend getaway, hoping a change of scenery might rekindle what we'd lost. But I never got the chance to bring it up. That night, I came home later than usual, tied up at the office finishing a major project. When I finally pulled into the driveway, I noticed something strange. Another car parked outside. Not a neighbor's. Not one I recognized. A cold knot formed in my stomach, but I pushed it aside. Maybe she had a friend over. Maybe it was nothing. I had no reason to suspect her. At least that's what I kept telling myself. I stepped inside, and everything felt wrong. The house was too quiet, yet filled with a tension so thick I could feel it crawling across my skin. Then I heard it. Laughter. Hers. But not just hers. A man's voice. Deep and familiar. I followed the sound, my heart hammering with every step. When I turned the corner into the living room, I froze. Claire was sitting on the couch, leaning close to a man I recognized instantly. Derek. We weren't close friends, but I knew him well enough. He worked with her. I had met him at office parties, holiday gatherings, always assumed he was just a coworker, nothing more. But the way they were looking at each other, intimate, charged, full of unspoken secrets, told me everything. My first reaction wasn't rage, it wasn't sadness, it was numbness, a surreal detachment, like my mind refused to accept what my eyes were seeing. I stood there, watching my wife, light up at something another man said. The way she touched his arm, the way her body angled toward him, it was unmistakable. I didn't speak. I didn't storm in. I didn't hurl accusations. Instead, I did something I never thought I'd do. I took off my wedding ring. Claire finally noticed me, her eyes widened, shock flashing across her face as she scrambled to sit up straight. "Evan," she started. I didn't let her finish. I walked forward, calm, too calm, and placed the ring on the coffee table between them. "You dropped this somewhere along the way," I said, my voice steady. Derek stiffened. He knew I'd caught them. But Claire, she hesitated. Her mouth opened and closed like she was searching for the right lie. "Evan, wait!" But I was already turning away. My hands weren't shaking, my voice hadn't cracked. I felt nothing. Or maybe I felt everything, so much that my body just shut down. I walked to the door. But before I stepped out, I looked back just once. You might want to figure out how to explain this, because whatever you thought this was, it's over. And then, I left. I had no idea what would happen next. But what did happen was something I never could have predicted. I didn't drive home that night, not because I didn't have a place to go, but because I didn't want to go home. The word home didn't even feel real anymore. The house where I had spent 10 years building a life with Claire now felt tainted, like it belonged to someone else. So I drove aimlessly, city lights blurring past as my mind raced. I replayed the scene over and over. The way she leaned in, the way she laughed, the way Derek didn't even have the decency to look ashamed. But the strangest part, I wasn't angry. Maybe it was shock. Maybe my brain hadn't caught up. Instead of rage, I felt an eerie calm, like I was watching my life unravel from a distance. Eventually, I pulled into a late-night diner, old school, flickering neon sign, a waitress who looked like she'd been working there since the 80s. I sat in a booth by the window, ordered coffee, and stared out into the night. That's when my phone buzzed. Claire. I didn't answer. Another buzz. Then a text. Evan, please come back. We need to talk. I let out a bitter laugh. Talk? Now she wanted to talk? Where was this urgency when she was giggling with Derek like a teenager? I set my phone face down and took a slow sip of coffee. The warmth should have comforted me. It didn't. Minutes passed, maybe an hour, then another text came through, one that made my stomach drop. Evan, please. He's gone. Just come home. I didn't respond. I stared at the message, trying to decipher it. He's gone. Did she kick him out? Did he leave on his own? And why did it sound like she was alone? A twisted part of me wanted to let her squirm, to let her drown in her guilt, but curiosity won. I paid my tab, got back in the car, and started driving. Not because I forgave her, not because I was ready to talk, but because something about that text didn't sit right. When I pulled into the driveway, I noticed immediately. The other car was gone. The house was dark except for a single light in the living room. I could see her silhouette pacing. I stepped inside, and the moment she saw me, her body sagged with relief. Evan, she breathed, like she had been holding her breath for hours. I didn't say anything. I just closed the door and folded my arms, waiting. She hesitated. He left as soon as you walked out. I nodded. Good for him. Claire flinched at my tone. I didn't mean for you to find out this way. I let out a bitter laugh. So what did you mean for me to find out? Just in a different way? Her face crumpled. No, Evan, but I screwed up, okay? I made a mistake. I tilted my head. A mistake? How long? A beat of silence. Then barely a whisper. A few months? I exhaled through my nose, staring past her like she wasn't even there. Months. While I was out here planning a weekend trip thinking we just needed a break, she had been sneaking around behind my back for months. She reached for me. I stepped back. Don't. Evan, please, she whispered. It didn't mean anything. I swear, it was stupid. I was stupid. I looked at her, really looked at her. And for the first time in 10 years, I saw her for what she was, a stranger. I shook my head, took a slow step toward her. You've got one chance, I said, my voice so calm it scared even me. One chance to tell me the truth. No more lies, no more sugarcoating. Claire's eyes widened. I am telling you the truth. Are you? I studied her, waiting for her to crack. And then she did. The tears, the guilt, the trembling hands, they all fell away. And for a single second, I saw something else flash across her face. Cold. Calculating. That's when I knew. She wasn't sorry. She was scared. Not of losing me, but of what would happen next. I stood there, watching her, waiting for her to say something. Anything that would prove me wrong, that would make me believe the woman I married still existed beneath the betrayal. But I saw it in her eyes. She wasn't devastated because she'd hurt me. She wasn't breaking down because she'd destroyed our marriage. She was scared because she didn't know what I would do. And that realization hit me harder than anything else. Why now? I finally asked, my voice even. Why tonight? Why him? She exhaled shakily, rubbing her arms like she was cold. Evan, I raised a hand. No, none of that. No, I didn't mean to. No, it was a mistake. Just tell me the truth. Her jaw tightened. Then, after a long silence, because I wanted to see if I still could. I blinked. What?
She looked up at me, eyes wet, lips trembling, but I wasn't falling for it anymore. I wanted to see if I still had it. I don't even know how to explain it, Evan. I felt like we were just going through the motions, and I wanted to feel wanted. I didn't plan this, it just happened. I laughed, a real, bitter laugh. Months, Claire. You're telling me you accidentally fell into another man's arms for months? Her face crumpled. I don't love him. That made me pause. Not because I cared whether she loved him or not, but because I suddenly realized what she hadn't said. She hadn't said she loved me. I let that silence stretch between us, heavy, suffocating. You know, I said after a moment, I came back here tonight thinking maybe, just maybe, I'd hear something that made sense. Something that would explain why you threw everything away. She stepped forward. Evan? I stepped back. No, you don't get to reach for me now. Not after this. Her hands fell to her sides. I ran a hand through my hair. So, what now? What's the big plan? You said Derek left. Did he leave for good, or just until you could figure out how to fix this mess? Claire flinched. I told him to leave. Why? She hesitated. I gave a humorless chuckle. Because you got caught, or because you actually want to fix this? She didn't answer. And that told me everything. I turned for the door. Evan, please, she said quickly. Please don't do this. I stopped, hand on the doorknob. Do what? Just don't leave. Stay. Let's talk. Let's figure this out. I turned to face her. For the first time since I walked in, I let her see it. The exhaustion, the disappointment, the weight of what she'd done. Figure what out? I asked, voice barely above a whisper. How to pretend this didn't happen? How to go back to the way things were? She swallowed hard. I shook my head. You don't get it, do you? Her lip trembled. Evan, No. I stepped closer, voice steady. You don't know. You don't know what it feels like to look at someone and realize they were never who you thought they were. To know that every moment you trusted them was just a joke to them. She sobbed into her hands, but I didn't comfort her. Not this time. You made your choice, I said finally, and now I'm making mine. Then, without another word, I opened the door and stepped out into the cold night. And for the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe. But what happened next, that was the part no one saw coming. I didn't go far that night. I drove around, hands gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. My mind was a storm, memories of our life together clashing with the cold, hard truth. Eventually, I found myself parked outside a cheap motel. The neon vacancy sign flickered in and out, buzzing in the quiet night. I checked in without thinking, barely remembered the conversation with the clerk. I just needed somewhere to breathe, somewhere that wasn't haunted by the ghost of my marriage. Lying on the stiff mattress, staring at the ceiling, I waited for the anger to hit, the real, raw fury, the kind that makes you want to scream, to break something, to demand answers she could never give. But it never came. Instead, I just felt empty. I must have dozed off because I woke to my phone buzzing. Squinting at the screen, I saw her name, Claire. I ignored it. A minute later, another text. Evan, please, just tell me where you are. Then another. I don't want to lose you. I let out a bitter laugh. Too late for that, sweetheart. More messages poured in. I didn't read them. I tossed the phone aside and rubbed my temples. What was I supposed to do now? Divorce, obviously. But how do you untangle 10 years of marriage in a single night? The house, the bank accounts, the shared friends. All of it suddenly felt like a minefield. I was still lost in thought when a knock at the door nearly made me jump. I froze. No one knew I was here. I slowly got up, looked through the peephole. Claire. My chest tightened. How the hell had she found me? I hesitated, then it opened the door just wide enough. She looked wrecked, eyes red, face pale. Evan, she breathed, relief flooding her. Thank God. I held up a hand. How did you find me? She bit her lip. Your location is still linked to my phone, from when we shared accounts. I had to talk to you. I exhaled through my nose. There's nothing to talk about. Please, her voice cracked. Just hear me out. Part of me wanted to slam the door, but against my better judgment, I stepped aside. She walked in hesitantly, arms wrapped around herself. I know I hurt you. I know I can't take it back, but I swear, I was going to end things with him. I was just scared. I scoffed. Scared of what? That he wouldn't want you after I left? Her face twisted. No, scared of losing us. I shook my head. You lost us the second you decided I wasn't enough.
Tears streamed down her face. I hate myself for this. I wish I could go back. I studied her, searching for something real. Then she made a mistake. She sniffled, wiped her eyes, and whispered, I already told Derek it was over. I stilled. You told him? So that means it wasn't over before I caught you? Claire's breath hitched. I mean, I was going to end it. I laughed bitterly. Wow, just wow. Evan, please, she begged. I don't want to lose you. I looked at her, really looked at her. And in that moment, I realized something I should have known from the start. She wasn't here because she loved me. She was here because she was losing control, and she hated that more than anything. I took a deep breath, reached into my pocket, fingers closing around the cold metal. Without a word, I pulled out my wedding ring, held it up between us, and placed it on the nightstand. Claire's face crumpled. Evan! I met her eyes, my voice steady. You don't have to lose me, Claire. I stepped back toward the door, opening it. Because I was never yours to begin with. She let out a strangled sob. But I didn't wait. I walked out, leaving my past behind. I thought that was the end, but I had no idea what was coming next. I left Claire in that motel room, but she wasn't done. The next few days were a blur. I went to work, tried to function, but the weight of betrayal clung to me like a second skin. Claire kept calling, and I ignored her. Then came the emails. At first, the same desperate pleas. Please talk to me. I love you. It was a mistake. But then the messages changed. One morning, I opened my inbox to find a single sentence. I need to tell you the truth about Derek. I stared at the screen, stomach twisting. I knew better than to respond, but I did. I don't care. Don't contact me again. Less than 5 minutes later, my phone rang. I almost didn't answer, but something, curiosity, bitterness, made me pick up. Claire's voice was small, shaky. Evan, please, just hear me out. I sighed. You've got 2 minutes. A pause. Then, I wasn't the only one. I frowned. What? She took a deep breath. Derek, he's been doing this for years, with other women he works with. I wasn't special. I was just another name on his list. I ran a hand down my face. You think that changes anything?
No, but one of those women was married to your boss. My blood ran cold. I sat up straight. What did you just say? She sniffled. Her name's Rebecca. She's been married to Mark for 10 years, and he's been sleeping with her for months, just like he was with me. The air left my lungs. I martinus it like so. I sat up in the domi numadaus. You're lying. She let out a bitter laugh. I wish I was, but if you don't believe me, ask Mark yourself. I ended the call. For the first time, I wasn't just drowning in my own betrayal. I was about to drag someone else into the storm, and I had no idea what I'd uncover. I dialed Mark's number. It rang once, twice, then his voice, casual, unsuspecting. Evan, my man, what's up? I hesitated. We need to talk, now. His tone shifted instantly. What's wrong? Not over the phone. Meet me at Ray's Diner, 20 minutes. The diner was nearly empty when I arrived. I sat in a booth, hands clasped, rehearsing the words. How do you tell a man his wife is cheating? How do you say, hey, remember that guy who smiles at you every day? Yeah, he's been sleeping with your wife. Mark walked in 10 minutes later, face drawn. He slid into the booth. All right, you've got me worried. What's going on? I took a slow breath. It's about Rebecca. His brow furrowed. What about her? I met his gaze. She's having an affair. Mark went completely still. Silence stretched. Then a dry chuckle. Is this some kind of joke? I shook my head. His face hardened. What the hell are you talking about? I leaned forward. It's Derek. That name alone cracked his expression. I saw the darkness in his eyes, the twitch in his jaw. You're lying, he said flatly. I pulled out my phone, showed him Claire's message. Read it. He stared at the screen.
I saw the moment it hit him, the tightening grip, the flare of his nostrils. Without a word, he stood. Mark! But he was already moving. I threw cash on the table and followed him outside. Where are you going? He didn't stop. Mark, wait! I grabbed his arm. You don't want to do anything stupid. His eyes burned. Don't tell me what I want to do, Evan. I exhaled. Trust me, I know exactly how this feels, but you need to think. His fists clenched. So what? I just let her get away with it? No, but you don't go in blind. He glared. Then what do you suggest? I didn't have an answer, but I knew one thing. This wasn't over. Mark paced, fists clenching, breath sharp. Betrayal rewires you, makes you question everything. We need proof, I said. He stopped. Proof? What more proof do I need than this? Your wife admitted it. I shook my head. It's not enough. If you go in there with just a text and my word, she'll deny it, twist it, make you the bad guy. He knew I was right. After a long pause, so what do we do? I hesitated. Then I pulled up a number and hit dial. It rang twice. Didn't expect to hear from you again so soon, Claire said, hesitant. Mark stiffened at her name. I need you to do something for me, I said flatly. A pause. What? I took a breath. I need you to meet me, right now, at your place, and bring your phone. You're going to call Derek. We waited in the car, parked across the street. Lights were on. I could see Claire pacing. Mark tapped the wheel. You sure she'll do it? I nodded. She's desperate to fix this. A few minutes later, my phone buzzed. He's picking up. Listen in. I put her on speaker. The call clicked. Lorna's voice, shaky. Nolan, you need to tell me the truth. How many women have there been? A long silence. Then Nolan. Does it matter? Mark gripped the dashboard. Yes, it matters. Were you with Rebecca? Another pause. Then, casually, you really want the list, sweetheart? Because trust me, you weren't special. Mark nearly tore the dashboard. Claire's voice cracked. I trusted you. Nolan laughed. That's on you, isn't it? I could hear her breath hitch. And what about Evan? What about Mark? Nolan laughed. Evan? You think I was worried about him? He was never going to find out. And Mark? Rebecca's had her fun. I don't see why she should stop now. That was it. Mark threw open the door and stormed toward the house. I followed. Claire swung the door open. Mark, wait! He brushed past her. The kitchen. Rebecca stood frozen, phone in hand, face pale. Mark, he cut her off. Don't. Just don't. She knew. Without a word, Mark took off his wedding ring, placed it on the counter, and walked out. I followed. We stepped onto the porch. Mark let out a slow breath. I'm done. I nodded. Me too. We stood in silence, two men who just lost everything. And yet, for the first time in a long time, I felt free. Mark turned to me. So what now? I gave a small, tired smile. Now we move forward. He scoffed. Forward sounds easy when you say it. I shrugged. It's not, but it's better than staying stuck in this mess. For the first time in days, something shifted inside me. The anger, the pain, it was still there, but it wasn't all I felt anymore. There was something else. Relief. The next few weeks were a blur. Paperwork, tough conversations, untangling my life from Claire's. She tried, called, texted, begged, but I was done. I found a small apartment across town. Nothing fancy, but it was mine. No ghosts, no lies, just a fresh start. Mark and I kept in touch. Going through something like this bonds you in a way nothing else can. We grabbed drinks, swapped horror stories, even laughed about the sheer insanity of it all. One night at the bar, Mark nudged me. So, when are you getting back out there? I raised an eyebrow. Back where? He smirked. Dating, you know, the thing people do when they're not married to cheaters? I chuckled. Not anytime soon. Come on, he said. Not all women are like them. I exhaled. I know. I just need time. And for the first time, I really meant it. I wasn't bitter. I wasn't closed off. I wasn't going to let what happened define me. I just needed space to be me again. And I was okay with that. A year later, my life looked completely different. New job, new apartment, new peace of mind. I ran into Mark at a coffee shop. He was smiling, actually smiling, as he sat across from a woman I'd never met. I raised an eyebrow. He just grinned and mouthed, later. And you know what? I was happy for him. Because the truth is, betrayal doesn't have to break you. It can shape you, make you stronger, and in the end, sometimes losing everything is exactly what you need to finally find yourself. If you enjoyed this story, please give it a like and subscribe for more heartfelt and powerful stories. Your support means a lot.